Hey, and welcome to another edition of TryKnoxville.com. Mike Roberts along from the ride, broadcasting from the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame Museum. Forgot to take my sunglasses out this morning. And we're actually not live this time. I said broadcasting live because I'm used to it, but we had to do a little recording session this morning on Friday morning. Beautiful day outside, but we have lots of stuff that we have to do in our personal lives, so we're going to record this, and it'll air this afternoon at 1 o'clock. So by the time you see this, it will be 1 o'clock. I have a guest with me right now, and I was thinking on the way here how I'm going to introduce you. She is past part-time medical billing secretary, worked her way to city clerk, worked her way to assistant manager, now interim city manager, Heather Ussery. Is that pretty well cover it?
I think so.
All right. We're just going to call you Heather today. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right, sounds good. Wanted to bring you on here and just have people get to know you. We've heard, and courtesy of Zoom a lot this last year, we've actually had a chance to see you more often because you're kind of been behind the scenes. The city manager's been out front all the time. But you put on a presentation here earlier this year with the budget, and I thought, wow, because I've known you forever. And I was really impressed. I thought, you know what? We need to get everybody to know Heather and see what's going on. So let's get in that Wayback Machine that I always talk about, and let's tell everybody where you were born and raised and how you ended up getting where you're getting. So where were you born and raised at?
I was actually born in Colorado Springs, Colorado, but my family moved back here when I was about 2. So all I know is Knoxville, really. Grew up here, graduated from here, and yeah, I've left for a few years, but quickly decided I wanted to come back, and this is where my family is, and this is home to me, and so yeah.
Did sports back in the day?
I did mainly soccer.
Okay.
Yeah.
What year did you graduate? I forgot.
2004.
2004. So
Yeah.
Soccer was kind of still fairly new to Knoxville area then.
Yeah, it was, especially for the women's, more so than the men's. But yeah, I mainly did soccer in high school. In middle school, it's volleyball, basketball, everything like that, but focused on soccer. When
Everything
I
you
got to
could
high
run
school.
through. I mean, it amazes me, and you're going to, well, you probably are finding this out right now. Everything's available for our children in Knoxville anymore compared to when 100 years ago when I went to school,
Yeah.
There's everything available. What's your kids doing? You got 3?
3, yes. They're not involved in any sports actually.
Really?
Yeah, we've tried so hard to get them to play something, but no, they haven't really shown any interest in any of that. So sometimes I'm like, when I hear all the sports moms complaining of being the taxi here and there, I'm like, oh, it's nice that I don't have to do that on my busy nights. But
No
other
doubt.
nights, I really wish that they'd be involved in something and I could just go watch them
It'd
play
be nice
a
to
game.
sneak away, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, your husband, you guys high school sweethearts, right?
Yeah. We've. I joke now. My son, my oldest, is 14, and I always remind my husband that's when we met. Is when I was 14. So it's kind of crazy now that we have a kid that's the same age. So
Yeah.
we've known each other for a long time.
I went through the same thing with my daughter because she always like, Dad, how do you know about this stuff? How do you know about this stuff? I'm like, I used to be your age and now I remember it, so it's kind of scary. We should mention your husband's name's Greg, and
Yes.
you guys, where'd you meet at? I mean, obviously in school, but remember the first time you met him? As far as actually, okay, I like this guy.
It was probably when like hanging out on the loop, scooping the
Right,
loop was
right.
a thing, and hanging out in the Dairy Queen parking lot and stuff. When that was really one of the first times I saw him.
Sure.
One of our first dates was to a high school basketball game.
Okay.
So
That's all right.
Yeah.
Because he's big on sports. I know he likes Hawkeye football, if I remember right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So, and he also went to work for the city way back when. And how'd you get involved with the city? I mean, I kind of remember you coming in, but just looking for a job at the time or what?
Yeah, really. Actually, Greg started there first. He did summer help during high school, and then he got full time about a year and a half before I did. And so he worked at the water reclamation facility. And then, after we had Caden, and I was looking for a full-time position, and it interested me in working for the city. I enjoy working for the public. I enjoy being involved with the city, and so I thought that would be a good position for me. It was great hours at the time, a new mom, and yeah, it was a great position. And so I had applied, and it was a receptionist position at that time that I started out with.
Dick Schraub was city manager then?
Yeah,
So retired down in Arkansas now.
yeah.
So does he ever make it up there? I haven't seen him for about a year or two now. Of course, during COVID, nobody made it around. But
Yeah, I haven't seen him for a few years. He still was attending the city manager conferences, and so in the last several years that I've seen or attended those,
Right.
I've ran into him. But I think he's fully retired now and isn't attending those as
He'll
much.
never fully retire. I know that, man. He's maybe playing more golf than he used to,
Probably.
but that's about it. In the position of receptionist, you get everyone coming in that has everything that from good, bad, and ugly. You're the first line of defense for the city when you were hired at that time. Was that kind of overwhelming? I mean, because you were fairly young then, too.
Yeah, I was 21 when I started.
Yeah.
And it can be at times you're really sometimes somebody will come in to complain to the city manager, but you're the first person they see. So their anger is all out on you usually in those situations anyways. And then they kind of vent to you. But being out there, I learned a lot being the receptionist just because you're out there, if it's departments talking, staff coming in, or even people from the public, you're listening to it all. And so I learned a lot about the city, really just being out there in front and listening.
Right.
So I enjoyed it.
You kind of tamed them down before they got a hold of the city manager. That was kind of your role, is to find out what's going on and make sure they get to see the right person. Because not all of the time they may have wanted to come to see the city manager, but maybe they just need to see P&Z, or maybe they need somebody else. So you learned that trick of the trade, and you didn't, to my knowledge at that point, didn't have any schooling for that particular position up until then. This was a here you go, good luck type job.
Yeah.
While you're in there, you got thrown into, I know, medical billing with the fire and rescue thing. You were taking on all sorts of odd jobs in that position. When did you decide you'd say, all right, it's time to go to school now and start getting real about this career path that I have a chance at? Because you were staying with the city at that time. It looked like everything was going to be full forward, even though you were having a family, because you had one when you started, but you ended up with 3 before it was over with.
Yeah. So, I went from receptionist to medical billing. And then one day, Dick Schrod and the city clerk at the time, Jody Meyer, kind of pulled me in their office and found out that Jody would be leaving the city in the next couple of weeks. And they asked if I wanted to be interim city clerk. And I was taken back, didn't see that coming at all. But Dick had said that he, seeing how I could pick up the information and do the task of the medical billing without any, knowledge or education in that, they felt that I would be able to take on that position quickly and learn quickly in that position. And so I definitely took advantage of that. I had about 2 weeks crash course in how to be a city clerk before Jody left. It was a lot of on-the-job training, and so that was in February, and the budget had to be submitted to the state by March. So it was some quick learning, but I was in that position for about 7 years, and I really enjoyed being a clerk. But then Aaron Adams, when he worked closely with him as a city manager for a few years, and he kind of had a sit down talk with me and said, "Is this something you really want to do? Like, be a city manager? Is that your long-term goal?" And I still wasn't sure,
Right.
Honestly, the thing that scares me the most is the public speaking. So today I was very nervous for this.
Nah, no big deal.
But
Just me and you.
being up front, I've been behind the scenes doing a lot of stuff, but being that upfront person kind of made me nervous. And he really helped me get the confidence in myself to that I could do that. And as well as Dylan Feek and Harold Stewart, they've all been my mentors the last several years and giving me the confidence that I knew this was something I wanted to do, but telling me that, I can do it and that I could be good at it and successful. So that's when I decided to go to school and really focus on this is what I wanted to do for my career.
When Dick Schrod came to you and said, "Hey, Jody's leaving. We'd like for you to fill in," what was the first thing that went through your mind? I mean, that's like I don't want to say anything derogatory from receptionist to city clerk, but this is, you had the key to the front door, now you have the keys to the city type position. Was it just overwhelming? Did you call Greg right away and say, "Hey, this is happening"?
I did. I remember I ran to the break room and called him. I'm like, "What do I do?"
Yeah.
Because it was out of the blue. I didn't see it coming, but I was excited for the opportunity.
Right.
Being in my 20s, starting that position, I didn't know where it was going to end up. Didn't see it coming that I'd be here today. But but I took it as an opportunity for a great role within the city to be able to move up in that role. So I was excited, but yeah, taken off guard, and it took a while to set in when I moved to that office, that's for sure.
Sure. So interim city clerk, how long were you actually titled interim before it became city clerk?
It was actually quite a while. I remember one of the council members in a meeting. It was possibly a year or two. She
Okay.
was like, "Can we just lift this interim?" It was
Right.
always just the title was listed as interim, and she's like, "Can we just lift that?" And I'm like, "If you say so, I'm just waiting, for
Yeah.
you guys to." And so then they did. But yeah, it was for a while that was interim.
I gotta say, because I remember sitting back and think, are they gonna make her the city clerk? Are they still looking? I mean, what's the plan here? It's almost like it got put on the back burner, and everybody's like, oh, Heather's here, she can do it.
Yeah.
No big deal. And again, in the meantime, you're moving up the ladder and you're having children.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a juggle. I mean, I don't care who you are, what position you are, what title you have, what company you're with. That's a juggle.
It is. Yeah, being a working mom with little kids it is a juggle, and it's nice. The city has always been, with my daughter's medical history or kids being sick, everything like that. They've always been great, understanding and knowing that you have family at home too, that you're you're a person just like everybody else,
Right.
So, yeah, it can be nerve-wracking at times, but it's also exciting.
All right. So Caden's 14.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's next?
Braylon,
Yeah.
she's 12,
Okay.
and then Parker is 9.
All right. And you mentioned Braylon,
Mm-hmm.
and she's had some medical problems. The whole community knows about that, but for those around the world that don't know about it, she's had a couple of major surgeries. One of them just this past year.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of fill us in on what's going on with Braylon as far as. Well, let's go back to the first time. I mean, some scary stuff going on.
Yeah, she was 5 when we found out the first time we learned a lot with her diagnosis. It was a cavernous angioma is what it was called. It's basically a cluster of blood vessels that didn't, I guess, grow the way they should have. And so it was on her brainstem, and she began to have stroke-like symptoms. And with an MRI, we found out that those can burst and bleed. And so that's what causes that lethargic and stroke-like weakness on the right side, things
Sure.
like that. And so when she was 5, she had brain surgery. And in 10 days, she walked out of the hospital and was back home. And so we were gracious for that, but we had no idea that how lucky we were at that time compared to this time around.
Right.
So last year, about this time, it was actually March 2nd, we found out she started having those symptoms and headaches again. She had an MRI that found out that it was back. And so we went down to Tennessee where her first surgery was, and she had another surgery. COVID hit. It was a whole other
craziness.
thing thrown in the mix. But this surgery, she wasn't as lucky. It ended up being about 38 days that we were in the hospital. She had to also have a tracheotomy and a gastrostomy tube because of her breathing. And then after that, we went to about 50 days at Child Serve. It's inpatient rehab in Johnston, and she learned how to breathe on her own again, gaining her strength to be able to sit up and, do the day-to-day things that we take for granted.
Right.
So now she still goes to therapy 3 days a week. She's doing really well. She doesn't have her trach anymore. She had a ventilator there for a few months. She's off of that. And she's doing much better than she was a year ago, but she's still recovering.
Quite possibly one of the strongest people I've ever had the privilege of watching in my life, because you kept us up to date on Facebook, and that smile, no matter what the circumstances were, that smile.
Yeah, I really don't know if I would have been able to handle everything so well throughout it if it wasn't for her, because she was so optimistic through it all. It was hard for me to break down when I knew she was being so strong. And so I definitely had my breakdown moments, but she lifted us up more than I probably feel like I did her.
Yeah. And I noticed, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago, doing the learn to walk again with the walker and things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's all kind of, she's bouncing back. She's
She is.
strong. She's a strong kid. I talk to Grandpa almost every other day out the motor inn out there, but and proud Grandpa. Us papas are pretty proud of our grandkids, as you know. So, bringing it back to the job itself, you worked your way through city clerk. You got to be an assistant city manager with some, again, Harold left, Aaron moved up, you're in. And all this going on with Braylon. I mentioned juggling, but you also have a strong support person at home, that you're not just the mom and having to work.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Greg has been phenomenal during all this.
Yeah, he has. He's actually currently been working part-time because he takes Braylon 3 days a week up to Johnston for therapy. So, yeah, he's been the rock through all of this, especially, I mean, me being able to come into the interim position as city clerk. I can't do that by myself, without him at home and helping with her. So he's been pretty amazing. And, I was with Braylon during the inpatient because COVID, we could only have one person. He couldn't see her that whole time. So
Wow.
him being able to be there with her each day during therapy, he loves that.
I got to say, that's a long time to be away from, again, I have a daughter. She's 26 now, but that's daddy's girl.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time to be away from daddy's girl.
Yeah, it was hard. I mean, technology is nice and window visits, but especially, the boys, 88 days as a mom away from the boys and seeing them through a window, that was really hard. But they were strong, too, through all of this. They cared for their sister, and missed her, but they were at home without mom for 50 days and without dad for 38, and so they were strong throughout this whole thing, too.
By the time the second procedure starts, your title is Assistant City Manager. And then Aaron says, hey, by the way, I'm taking off.
Yeah.
Your daughter's back home. Everything's looking pretty good. See ya.
Yep.
And not necessarily that
No.
way, but you know what I'm saying. I had a chance to interview him with Marion County Tribune and Marion County Express. And during my interview with him, I said, all right, what's next for the city council? What are they going to do as far as filling your position? And he flat tells me, he goes, I'm going to recommend Heather, as an interim to start off with, because I don't see any reason why she can't take the position. You mentioned he's the one, first of all, give credit where credit's due. Dick shoved you forward and says, here, you're going to be city clerk.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And Harold maneuvered you around and doing some other positions as well. Aaron moves up, you're assistant city manager, and Aaron says, hey, are you for real on this thing? Because it's time to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
When did you go to school and have time to do that?
Yeah, I went and I got my bachelor's in organizational management.
Mm-hmm.
I went online. And then I took about 6 months, and then I went and got my master's in public administration. So it was a lot more juggling and, Greg helping out as well and, wearing that hat for all of that. So support system, really, whether it be my coworkers as well as family at home and as well as the kids. It definitely took some juggling, but yeah, it was something that was important and that I wanted to do. And Greg knew that, and he helped me in any way he could to help make sure I could do that.
Now, you had some time off last year during the procedure. You still, again, COVID hit, which sucked for the world, let's be honest. But at the same time, it made us step up to the plate and say, all right, we have computers, we have the technology. You were able to still do some work and do meetings and still are performing Zoom meetings. I mean, don't get rid of the Zoom meetings, by the way. I'm not telling you what to do, but it works really good that we don't have to sit up there in the room all the time. And so I'm just saying, keep that Zoom thing going.
I don't think it'll ever completely go away now.
No, that's convenience. You can sit on the couch and do your work for us. So, but back to that, you were still able to maintain your job and do your job and take care of family. And again, Aaron goes out and he moves to Colorado, which is odd that I didn't know you were born in Colorado. So it's like, okay, there's a little connection there. But he goes out and moves to Colorado. He says and recommends the council, hey, Heather can do this. And you presented the budget. And I don't know what it is with city managers leaving it and city clerks leaving it budget time for you, but it seems to happen all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was planned, that you were going to do the budget this year anyway, or what the deal was. But I've sat in on a lot of budgets meetings. I was really impressed, especially for some of the stuff that we're talking about with the future of local option sales tax. Now, we're not going to get into the business side of it per se this time. I will have you back if you'll come back, though.
Okay.
And we will do business on that thing. But what has driven you to stay in Knoxville? Because, again, you started out young. You could have done anything you wanted to do, been anywhere you wanted to be. I know you traveled as a kid. I know you still take vacations now. Why Knoxville for you?
I really bring it down. It's the people that keep me here. Of course I have family here and that's important, but the way that this community comes together each and every time there's something important, I think that's pretty awesome. And I love being able to be in the position as, interim at this currently, but working for the city, to be able to serve my community. I feel like I'm giving back to the community. So I enjoy, helping the community grow, helping bring things to the community, whether it be projects or whatever, that I'm able to do that for this community that I love so much. And so I love the people, whether it's an event that's happening, they've held a benefit for my daughter, or there's other families in need. There's projects, fundraising. They always come together, it seems like, as a big family and know what's important for the community. And I think that's pretty cool.
We did a show about Thrive with Tyler here a couple weeks back. And I guess I forgot to put that on your resume when I introduced you, because you kind of got that here in your lap as well. Mm-hmm. Not because you became interim city manager, but you got involved in Thrive as literally out the door. Mm-hmm. That's a part of the community as well. Not that you have time to do it, but you found time to do it. And that's a big step in why I think Knoxville is successful, not just Thrive, but all of our organizations. Everybody seems to work together. I always use this comparison. We're family. We're brothers and sisters. We'll fight amongst each other, but don't dare try to fight us. And in that situation with Thrive, with the Chamber of Commerce, with Tri Knoxville, with the City of Knoxville, you guys are working really hand in hand for the first time in my lifetime I've seen this. I'm not saying it hasn't happened before in my lifetime, but the city and county is really working hand in hand on this VA project right now. I mean, it's a big deal, and we got some big things coming down the line on that as well. So the council says you're interim city manager. You have a budget due. You were ready for that. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it was in place. It goes. In fact, it's gone now, isn't it? Did you guys send it off to state now? Mm-hmm. So, what's next as far as the hiring process? We got to talk a little bit of business. What's their plan as far as hiring a city manager?
Right now, they've sent out proposals for a recruitment firm to do that process, and so that's where we're at right now. In the next few meetings, council will be talking about hiring a firm and starting that process. And I plan to be an internal candidate as part of that process.
Do they have a target of when they want this all wrapped up and done by?
I'm sure they're hoping it's not drawn out. The firm will determine, how long the process will take, but it'll be several months. I'm guessing it'll be late spring, early summer until it's finalized.
Got the firm picked out yet?
No.
Okay. Still waiting on that?
Yep. Okay. It'll probably be on our March 15th meeting is when that will be decided.
I just had a memory here. I think when Dick Schrod left the city, didn't he go to work for some of them headhunting firms?
He
before?
did.
Yeah, I could say. Yeah. So maybe call him up and say, hey, boss. No, I'm teasing about that thing. But I know you've got more meetings today. It's never ending. All right. I will say, again, I was there when you walked in as a receptionist. You've climbed the ladder. Very impressed the way you've been juggling with the family and everything that's going on in your life. And I'm going to hold you to coming back to the show because we're going to have to talk business one of these days.
Okay.
All right. But there's a reason we call this Tri Knoxville, folks. And Heather and a lot of the other people that we had on here is the main reason why, because it is a good community to start out with. And we got some big things coming up, a big announcement coming from the VA here in the next couple of weeks. We hope to bring that to you as it happens as well with Mark Ramey coming on board. In the meantime, everybody take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time on TryKnoxville.com.